Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into Fyodor Dostoevsky's very first novel, Poor Folk. It's an incredible story that really gets you thinking about the lives of people that society just tends to ignore.
You know, this line from one of our main characters really says it all. Dostoevsky does something pretty cool here. He tells the whole story through a series of letters. It gives us this incredibly raw, unfiltered look into the minds of two people who are just trying to survive in 19th century St. Petersburg.
So let's meet our two protagonists. First, there's Makar Devushkin. He's an older government clerk, kind of down on his luck. Then you have Varvara Dobroselova, a young seamstress who's been through a lot. And they live in these rundown rooms in buildings just across a courtyard from each other.
You can just feel Makar's loneliness in this quote, can't you? He finds so much joy in their secret little connection. Sometimes it's as simple as a signal with a curtain and a flower pot on the windowsill, just to know she's there, thinking of him. For Makar, that little thing, well, it's everything.
But Varvara, well, she's seeing things from a much more practical and kind of painful point of view. She sees his kindness for sure, but she's also constantly worried. She knows he's spending what little money he has on small gifts for her, flowers, candy, while he himself is living in this absolute dump, all for her.
And that's really the heart of their dynamic, isn't it? You've got him, this poetic soul who finds this grand romantic meaning in their friendship, and then there's her, painfully aware of what that friendship is actually costing him. They're two completely different people, really, bound together by poverty and just a desperate need for some kind of human connection.
Okay, so to save a little extra money for Varvara, Makar moves into an even cheaper place. And let me tell you, his letters from here, they paint a picture of poverty that you just can't forget.
He's literally living in a corner of a communal kitchen partitioned off by a screen. I mean, can you imagine? It's loud, it's dirty, it smells awful, and he's surrounded by this whole cast of characters. He calls it a Noah's Ark, and every single one of them is struggling.
But even in all that misery, one story really gets to him: the Gorshkov family. They are just completely destitute. The father lost his job in disgrace, and his wife and kids are basically starving. And their silent, quiet suffering, it just becomes this constant, haunting presence for Makar.
Now, to help Makar understand why she's so sad and, well, so broken, Varvara sends him her diary. And this, right here, is where the whole novel just cracks wide open. We find out her past is just one tragedy after another.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It's an absolute fall from grace. She starts with this happy, perfect childhood in the country, and then it's just a downward spiral. Orphaned, penniless in this cold city, and finally she ends up trapped by this awful manipulative relative who totally exploits her. But even in that terrible situation, there's a little glimmer of hope. She meets another boarder, a brilliant but very poor student named Pokrovsky, and they form this deep connection. He's not just her tutor, he becomes her best friend, really her lifeline.
And there's this one story from her diary that is just so beautiful and so sad. She saves up every penny she has to buy Pokrovsky the complete works of Pushkin for his birthday. At the bookshop, she runs into his father, who's just as poor. So what do? They pool their money together to buy the books. And then, in this amazing moment of love, Varva lets the father give the gift as if it were from him alone.
But this is Dostoevsky, after all, so that little bit of happiness doesn't last. Pokrovsky gets sick with consumption, and he dies. The way Varvara describes his funeral, it's one of the most heartbreaking things you'll ever read. His poor father, just overcome with grief, literally runs after the funeral cart, with books spilling out of his pockets, just trying to stay with his son for a few moments longer.
So, okay, let's bring this all together. How does this absolutely devastating past shape Varvara's life right now and her relationship with Makar?
You see, her diary wasn't just a story. It's her way of explaining everything. It shows us exactly why she's so fragile, why she's so afraid of the world, and why Makar's simple, steady kindness is basically the only thing keeping her from going under completely.
And now, believe it or not, that past is literally coming back to haunt her. That same awful relative is scheming again, this time with a rich, predatory landowner named Mr. Bykov who wants to marry Varvara. So she's completely trapped, isn't she? Between the memory of this pure, selfless love she once had and the threat of this horrible, loveless future.
And all of this brings us to the real genius of this novel, what made it so absolutely revolutionary for its time. See, Dostoevsky wasn't just telling a sad story. He was basically inventing the social novel in Russia and making this huge statement about what it means to have dignity.
His big idea? That a person's worth has absolutely nothing to do with how much money they have or their job title. For the very first time, characters who were usually just background scenery, the poor, the forgotten, they were put right in the spotlight. Dostoevsky shows us that they have these incredibly complex, rich inner lives. They love, they dream, they suffer with this intensity that has nothing to do with their poverty.
I mean, just look at Makar. At work, his colleagues make fun of him. They call him a paper rat because his job is just copying documents. But Makar, he takes that insult and he owns it. He finds his dignity not in his job, but in being useful, in the pride he takes in his handwriting, and most of all, in his fierce, protective love for Varvara. That is where he finds his worth.
And really, that's the question Dostoevsky leaves hanging in the air for us. In a world that's always judging people by what they own and what they do for a living, Poor Folk makes us stop and ask a much bigger question. What is the true measure of a human being? Is it what you have, or is it the love and the compassion that you carry inside?